Pep Guardiola is a checkbook manager who cannot win trophies without having a team full of world-class players and buying all of the best players with his unlimited funds. But Phil Foden is a system player and he would be nothing without Pep Guardiola. Haaland would be nothing without the service he gets from KDB. But KDB would be nothing without a system where he can just sit there and spam crosses. Bernardo Silva, system player. Doku, not good enough to play in the Premier League. Guardiola, waste of money at left back. Ruben Diaz, terrible centre back. John Stones, injury prone and doesn't play enough football. This Manchester City team is one of the worst Premier League teams you will ever see. The levels of talent in that team are on par with a mid-table championship team like Bristol City or Preston North End. But in all seriousness, today I am here to talk about the conversations of whether the Man City team is actually any good, or if Pep Guardiola is just such a good manager that he can squeeze the best out of players that are very limited by getting the best out of their very specific specialties in their game. But before we go any further, please do like the video if you enjoy. Comment down below your opinions, whether you think that people like Foden, De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva are system players and they're not actually that good at football and it's all Pep's genius, or whether you think they are great players, just when it comes to national team football they're maybe being failed by their teammates, they're not being played in the position which gets the best out of them, or they're just underperforming for the sake of underperforming. Obviously subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're closing in on 400 subscribers, and as well, when I hit 1,000 subscribers I'll shave off all of my hair and I will go Pep Guardiola bald. It might even make me a video making genius, who knows. And if this is, your first time at the channel, stick around to the end, because you will be recommended some other great content by me. But today's video, so if you've been on Twitter recently, which I do not recommend because it will be very detrimental to your mental health, so if you value your mental well-being, don't go on Twitter. But if you've been on Twitter recently, you would see that Foden was criticised for his performance against Serbia because he wasn't great. He was not England's best player. He wasn't England's worst player, as you know by the video I made 2 days ago. But he wasn't England's best player, right? And he was called a system player. And because he's never really performed for England, people have said that he is nothing without Pep's system. Which, half that is fair. He doesn't really put up the best performances for England, so it is fair to criticise those, but calling them a system player is probably a bit harsh. Obviously De Bruyne and Doku then got the same treatment after a Lukaku disaster class against Slovenia in which they lost 1-0, and Bernardo Silva got the same treatment last night after putting in a poor performance for Portugal against Czech Republic in a 2-1 win. And yeah, I'm here to talk about this narrative because, as I said at the start of the video, the narrative was always Pep can only do it with world-class players. He can only do it with the best talent, right? And yes, that is a fair argument. Pep always has a good team. Pep always manages the best teams. And that's because he gets offered the jobs at the best teams. If you get offered now, let's say, right, there's a shop, right? Let's say there's a shop, a co-op, right? Let's say there's a co-op, yeah, a supermarket, right? You can either be the manager of that shop, earn the best salary, be on a salary. You don't have to, you're not paid on an hourly basis. You're paid a set figure, and your job is, a little harder, but there are a lot more benefits to that job. Or you can be a sales assistant where you're paid on the hour and your pay is determined by how many hours you work. You get less pay and the benefits of your job aren't that good. You get offered both jobs. You can either be the manager or the sales assistant. Which one are you picking? Because I'd pick the manager. You know, I would pick the better job that gives me the best benefits and is the best for my career, right? That's the one I pick. You're not going to, if you're offered both jobs, you're not going to pick the lesser job. And that is the case, I believe, with Pep Guardiola. If you're offered a job at Man City, but you're also offered a job at Birmingham City, you're not going to pick the Birmingham job unless you're a Blues fan, I guess. Like, personally, like, if you're a world-class coach, you're obviously going to manage the best teams, because that's just, you know, the level you hold yourself at. So yeah, Pep always manages the best teams, right? That was always the thing, and it was always said that he couldn't do it without the best players, i.e. Messi. He couldn't win the Champions League without Messi. He's now won the Champions League without Messi. Took him a while, took him longer than it should have, but he's done it, right? But now the narrative has slowly changed to Man City players aren't good outside of the Pep system, and none of these players are actually any good. And Pep's the best manager of all time because he's winning 4 titles in a row with the most limited squad in the Premier League. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I know it's mostly all cope for people, and they want to find a way to discredit City and all of that. And, you know, there are many things you can discredit us for. If you want to say, yes, your achievements don't mean that much because you are under investigation for 115 alleged rule violations, right? That is fair enough. That is facts. There are allegations of cheating. You cannot say for a fact that we did cheat, and you cannot say for a fact that we did not cheat. But you can say there are allegations, and that is a completely fair criticism, right? But all the other criticisms are levied at us, they don't make any sense, and it is just people being salty for the sake of being salty. You know, these people don't care about City, but they will create all these narratives to discredit City. It's a bit weird, I know. There are many teams I don't care about. I don't talk about them. When have you ever seen me talk about Crystal Palace? When have you ever seen me... Actually, I care about Crystal Palace. They're who I'm managing on Football Manager. I take that back. Palace fans, I love Palace. That's who I'm managing on Football Manager. They're my new favourite team. But in all seriousness, like, when do you ever see me talk about Brentford or Norwich, Ipswich, Reading, Plymouth, Birmingham, like I've already mentioned, Rochdale, Rotherham, all of these places, right? When do you ever see me, when do you ever hear me, like, talk about these teams, these places? You don't, because I don't care about them. I've got nothing to say on them. They don't pique my interest. I'm not going to say anything negative or positive about them because I don't care. But if you have negative opinions on City, and if you have positive opinions on City, you care about them in some regard. Liverpool, for example, I don't like Liverpool as a club. That, like, you know, just from the rivalry that's been there the last few years, from some of the way their fans talk on social media, I don't like Liverpool. I don't like United for obvious reasons, but I would never say I don't care about those clubs, because I have a dislike towards those clubs, which means they matter to me in some regard. I care. I care enough to dislike them, just like I care enough to love City. At the end of the day, that's how it goes. So I will discuss the teams I care about for better or for worse, right? Take that how you will, right? I know that's getting clipped out of context and someone's going to clip it saying that I care about Man United. But you know what? Here we are, right? Anyway, so yeah. People will come up with these narratives, like this system player narrative. And I don't think it's true. I don't think it is true. A system player does exist, but it doesn't exist to the same magnitude that people say it does, right? Like Trent, for example. Trent is a perfect example of a system player in Klopp's system, right? He was the perfect player for Klopp's system. He liked to attack with the fullbacks, right? The way they played it was high intensity pressing in the middle, right? So they just had a bunch of workhorses in the middle that could do all the running, which meant that all of the creative output was coming from the fullbacks. Trent, an exceptional creator from the right side as a fullback, right? And his and Robertson's assist numbers speak for themselves with their creative output from the flanks, right? Having fullbacks that could create chances was a big part of why Liverpool won as much as they won, right? Just like Firmino, system player in the sense of he links the play between Mane and Salah, he took up a false nine position. It wasn't all about getting the goals. It was about linking play, having a fluid attack. That's why they're one of the best attacking trios you will see in the league. They're system players in the sense that they are the perfect player for the system, for that system, right? Perfect player. But that doesn't mean that Trent, for me, and Firmino can only be successful in that system. I'm sure Trent will be successful next season outside of that system under Slot, you know. But that doesn't mean he wasn't the perfect system player for Klopp. I don't think that being a system player is necessarily a bad thing, but people use it as a term to say this player can only perform in this system and he would be nothing without this system, which in my opinion that's not what that means. Yes, a lot of the City players are system players. Grealish, system player. He's a ball retention skills. Him and Kovacic, his ball retention skills, being able to recycle possession, keep the ball, keep possession, all of that, perfect for Pep's system. Exactly what he likes. He likes control of the ball. But that does not mean that Kovacic, four-time Champions League winner, I think, 3 or 4, I can't remember, 3 or 4-time Champions League winner, right? He's been successful outside of Klopp's system, Pep's system, but he's a perfect system player. Grealish, one of the most exciting talents in the league at Villa. Not saying he's been successful in winning trophies, but his numbers and his public perception before joining City speak for themselves. But he's a perfect system player in Pep's system. That's how I see the term anyway, and I don't think it should be used to discredit people's abilities. Just like I don't think the way people use the term system player, it applies to any of these City players, right? We'll look at De Bruyne, right? We'll use De Bruyne first. There is no way you can say De Bruyne's not good outside of Pep's system when you actually look at the individual that they are deploying up top. You look at his performance the other day for Lukaku, right? You look at the performance. Was it against Croatia in the Qatar World Cup where he slammed the ball off the post 3 times and just couldn't get the ball in the net? You saw his performance in the Champions League final against Man City. If you're putting chances on a plate for a striker and he's not scoring them, that's not you having a bad performance. That's a striker having a bad performance, plain and simple. De Bruyne definitely should have won more. De Bruyne and Hazard definitely should have won more with Belgium. They definitely should have won a trophy. But it's not 100% their fault, and it's not all down to either of them underperforming the whole time. There are many factors. Their underperformances may play into it, but there are multiple factors that don't just rely on them being terrible. Bernardo for Portugal. Yes, Bernardo's hasn't really been great of late for Portugal. I don't really know what to say on Bernardo, really. I don't think he's been good this season. I didn't think he's been good this season for City, so I was not expecting him to come into this Euros and be good for Portugal. I don't really have anything to defend him with for this Euros anyway. Like, he wasn't good. He wasn't good this season. I was not expecting him to be good in the Euros. And Foden, this is probably my most controversial thing, right? Trent was played out of position and did not play well. So it's either play Trent in his natural position or don't play Trent. And that's how I feel with Foden, right? If you're going to put 2 non-natural left-sided players, because Foden's not a left winger, right? He's not. If you're going to play Foden on the wing, you play him on the right. But Saka's already on the right, and Saka's a natural right winger. So you'd play him as a right winger, which you're not going to, over Saka, or you'd play him in the 10, but Jude's in the 10. So just drop Foden, right? Just drop him. Like, there's no point shoehorning him into a position that he's not going to get the best out of him, when you could just play a player that might not have the talent ceiling of Foden, but that's their natural position, like Gordon, right? Like, and especially, what is Foden going to do off of the left if it's, 1, not his preferred position, and 2, the person he's got overlapping him is a right back and not a natural left-sided player? I don't know. I personally think that was a stupid choice for Southgate to put 2 non-left-sided players on the left. It was dumb. But yeah, I'm not going to say Foden has to be in the England squad, because he doesn't. I think he's one of, in the top 3 most talented English players. But if you're not going to play him in his preferred position and a position that's going to get the best out of him, don't just waste him in a position where he's not going to play his best, where you could put a player that's maybe got half of Foden's ability but is natural in that position, and then just have Foden to come off the bench if Saka or Bellingham aren't having the best game. Like, utilise and manage your talent. Not all of your best players have to be in the starting 11 at once. It's about balance, and it's about like managing their game time so you can get the best out of everyone, not just keeping all the big names happy, like Southgate seems to do by never dropping Kane. But you know, that's the way I see it personally. I don't think that any of these City players are bad outside the system, and I think that if they went to any other club in the Premier League or in Europe, they would still perform relatively to the same standards, and they would get a lot more praise because they're not City players. But again, you know, it is what it is. I don't really care that much, but you know, it's a cool video topic at the end of the day, innit? But yeah, I've been Nathan. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video. Obviously, leave your thoughts on this topic down below. I really would like to know what you guys think. It's one of my favorite things about uploading videos, reading your guys' opinions in the comments. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Closing on 400 subscribers, and you know, at 1,000 subs, I'll shave off all my hair. If you're new around here, please check out the rest of the videos on the channel. You will not be disappointed, and it might even encourage you to, you know, further encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you like the rest of my content and want to keep seeing me pop up in your subscription feed and on your homepage. But yeah, with all that being said, I know this is a slightly longer video, but I kind of just sat here and waffled for a bit, but you know, is what it is. I've been Nathan. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces, chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like GT trying to tell him I'm wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it, body come mad, come shake it, then get back to the basics, bro, don't shut down cases, they belly dots to the